if you need a job, look here, here, and here. The Triad's Big Three in aviation are hiring. Around the world, it amounts to 400,000 jobs that need to be filled. This morning, we're taking a closer look at the industry's careers and education right here at home. The Triad's aviation industry is thriving, thanks in part to the area's setup, bringing an aviation education and workforce to PTI Airport.
The growth that we see is globally is tremendous.
HondaJet, HEICO Americas, FedEx Air, they are all growing companies who need workers.
Like HEICO Americas, that's supporting our maintenance, repair, and overhaul facilities where they need technicians, maintenance technicians, with a shortfall projected there of about just under 200,000 over the next 20 years.
And the choice of employees is coming out of the pool of students at Embry-Riddle University in Greensboro, one of the leading universities in aviation and aeronautics.
We go in and support that workforce with primary education all the way through professional education for continuing their careers or developing new skills.
Dr. Kenneth Witcher, the Dean for the College of Aeronautics at Embry-Riddle, spoke with us via Skype. He says the jobs in demand need to be filled now. That's pilots, maintenance technicians, and engineers who specialize in cybersecurity.
We have to have pilots in this country, and by the way, there is a projected shortfall of pilots. We need about 200, just over 200,000 pilots projected in the next 20 years.
So if you're tracking the numbers, that's 200,000 maintenance technicians and 200,000 pilots needed in 20 years. That's a whole lot of jobs to fill. And the reason why aviation and aerospace is one of the world's top careers.
I was up there at Greensboro a few weeks back, and I just glancing, I looked at the local jobs available in the aviation aerospace industry on one of the recruiting sites, and there was over 100 jobs posting out there in the community.
The industry offers longevity in a growing workforce and excellent pay.
The average for an aviation aerospace employee is about 70,000.
And that's just the beginning.
As that workforce becomes more in demand through the growth, through the retirement of the existing workforce, we'll see those wages, I predict, continue to grow.
Dr. Witcher says get in while the industry is hot.
If anybody is interested out there in joining the aviation aerospace industry, there's a ton of opportunities right now moving forward. It's a growing business.
Well, the pay, of course, is exciting. The demand is exciting. But Dr. Witcher says other communities are now looking at the Triad and how we're set up to build and support aviation. And so growing a workforce is important as well. So while we probably think of Greensboro as barbecue and basketball, things like that, he says the world is looking at us in terms of aviation.
I think that's fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, just look at how much the Triad has grown already with aviation. Over just the past few years, you have the programs, the GTCC, the aeronautics programs. You've had all the new development around PTI Airport. Yeah. It's exciting. We are a front runner and a leader in aviation, and you proved that.
And you think about it, FedEx right now is hiring for the holidays, and that's their ground transportation. Think about when it comes to air transportation, which is one of their needed fields as well. I mean, the jobs are just going to keep growing. I'm telling Josiah, hey, look, aviation.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, you know, students, both men and women in high school, and they're thinking, it's like, well, you know, what am I going to do with my life? Certainly, this is something to consider.
Absolutely. Good pay starting out, $70,000 a year.
Wow.
So you can learn more about the career and education opportunities in aviation here in the Triad and abroad on our website, WFNYnews2.com. Just search Aviation Triad.